I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And we're doing Mythbusters. That's right, today we're talking fertilizers and things that you might commonly think that just aren't true, or maybe we need to shed a little light on so they're better understood. And with fertilizer, we're talking houseplants specifically. And one of the most common things is you just need to fertilize all the time. Yes, food is good. We as humans need it, but you don't need it all the time. A lot of times it gets shoved off as excess. So the same thing happens with your plants. Depending on the type of plant, we'll tell you kind of how much it needs. So things to take into consideration are, do they flower? Is it something that grows big? Is it winter? Is it actively growing? These are all things that'll help you determine whether or not that houseplant needs to be fertilized. And another common myth is one size fits all. Well, I have this one fertilizer and I'll just use it for everything. Well, I don't eat the same as somebody that's, 12. So therefore, chances are your plants don't all eat the same because they're not the same. They're individuals. So let's take a couple examples here. So in front of us, there's a cactus fertilizer. Cactuses are developed, they don't need a ton of additional nutrients. They live naturally where there aren't a lot, or there's not water to provide them. So they've developed strategies to deal with a little bit lower food intake. So you might look for something that's specifically for cactuses. Down here, we have some plants that, while they are colorful, they don't necessarily flower, these two guys. So here's an ivy and here's Philodendron Birkin. Neither one of them routinely flower. So they don't need a lot of extra energy, which is what fertilizer provides, to push out those buds. So a light fertilizer is good for those. So something like this Grow, which is a general purpose, but a lot for greens. Or something over here like this begonia, for instance, over here. This is a Rex begonia. Again, this actually does flower, but unless it's in flower, like this Rieger begonia or this cyclamen here, they don't need the additional food. Why? Because they're just kind of hanging out. If I'm running a marathon, then I don't need as many calories per day because I'm not burning as many. So the same thing with your houseplants. Are they actively growing? Are they actively blooming? Well, then they probably do need a little bit more food. But let's go back to those specifics again. So let's look over here. Now these are two examples of African violets. So two different flower forms, two different leaf shapes, but again, there's an African violet. And as you can see by this particular fertilizer, this one tells you you can feed every time you water. It's formulated to do so. So if we look on the back of these different types of fertilizers that I gave here as examples, we will see different mix rates. So it isn't necessarily just, dump a few in, because just like salt, a little is good, too much is no good. It can actually burn. If you have a plant that's not well, one of the things is, I'll feed it. Feed a cold, that old saying. Well, if it's not good and not healthy, feeding a plant isn't always the best thing. Fertilizer can push growth. So if I have a plant that's struggling to maintain as it is, I don't want to cause it to want to grow more. So I just want to keep it happy, evenly watered, don't move it around, don't replant it, and don't fertilize it. Wait until it starts to recover, and then we could give it a little bit of food. But fertilizer for a sick plant is usually not the answer. Something else is usually going on. The other thing I'll tell you guys about, and this isn't actually a myth, but it's interesting, is the Epsom salts. So we have a lot of fertilizers here, and Epsom salts on houseplants work very nicely. They help other nutrients get taken up. They help balance out some of the nutrients and help some others get taken up. And you can use these, you can read the container as always, but you can use these as a foliar spray or on the root system. So that's just a little fun side fact. So there has been some, hopefully, myths debunked that'll help you be successful. Until we see you again, this has been another in your series of Mythbusters.